Pisa, this ancient marine republic, has sculptured centuries of history on the sea, conquests, trade and commerce. A fine example of the art and culture of the Tuscan people, the same art and culture which has always been expressed by them at all productive levels with the strength of tradition and an inimitable creative and inventive spirit. In other words, a craftsmanship that is unrivaled throughout the world. Cantieri di Pisa presents The Master Craftsman, directed by Orazio Pettinelli. Linked with the sea both by history and the river Arno, from the many facets of applied art, the people of Pisa have always given preference to shipbuilding and the working of wood, which in modern times finds its more sophisticated expression in the fleet of large pleasure cruisers. Here at the Cantieri di Pisa, past and present meld together. Since the Phoenicians passed the columns of Hercules and the Romans, in ships built by the Etruscans, spread their civilization throughout the world, the use of wood for hulls to brave the seas has remained unchanged, challenging victoriously other shipbuilding techniques. Machinery and tools reduce labor and production time. Study and research constantly lead to new experience in the treatment of wood and the use of protective paints, to the extent that today wood can be considered practically indestructible and immutable. The craftsman's hand is recognizable at every stage, as in the application of the pre-constructed sections, so in the copper nailing on the triple-cross planking of a 30-meter bulwark. Each element, depending on its use, can be formed from a single piece of teak, mahogany, elm or acacia, or can be made up of layers of different types of wood. When smoothing, rounding off and softening of corners are required, the plans and designs must be followed, but so must the harmony of line and an inborn taste gained from long experience and a natural sense of proportion. As in a vast mosaic, the pieces of a boat are assembled by skilled soloists, whose precision and synchronization bring to mind the work of a symphony orchestra. Activity at the Cantieri di Pisa is intense. In the past 40 years, more than 500 boats have been produced, in lengths ranging from 10 to 40 meters, built down to the last detail by the shipyard's craftsmen. In fact, next to the large sheds where the wood is worked, there is a workshop where light alloys and stainless steel, marine copper, bronze, and peraluminium for the superstructure and accessory parts are given the same careful attention. Bollards, hawse holes, racks and tanks are all produced from the original drawings with well-defined and easily recognizable characteristics. Their design not only takes into account the use for which they are made, but also the line and style of the boats from the Cantieri di Pisa, which we now see in navigation. For man, a boat is never just an extension of terra firma, but is something vital and alive, with its own personality. This is confirmed by the Acura 20S. Fully laden, it has a displacement of 40 tons, and its two 1,000 horsepower diesel engines give a top speed of 30 knots. At medium load, it has a cruising speed of 27 knots and a range of 450 miles. This is the young boat from the Cantieri di Pisa. 22 meters long and 5 meters 70 wide, it has spacious living accommodation. There are 3 double cabins for the passengers and a double cabin for the crew, each with its own bathroom. The 20S is ideally designed for life on deck, with a cockpit, living area and helmsman's position all on the same level. The Acura 22S, bigger brother of the 20S, embodies the continuous evolution of the Cantieri di Pisa's ideas and design. Maximum length 22 meters 15 and maximum beam 5 meters 80. It has a fully laden displacement of 46 tons. Without doubt, the comfort of the 22S is exceptional for a boat that with two 1600 horsepower diesel engines and medium load reaches a top speed of 36 knots and a cruising speed of 32 knots. This craft can be considered a milestone in the Cantieri di Pisa's range. In our review of the production of the master craftsman, we now come to the Acura 30, a craft which rises to the summit in a class of craft intended for the most demanding of motor yacht owners. Two versions are offered by the Cantieri di Pisa. Two 2,600 horsepower diesel engines giving a cruising speed of 30 knots and a maximum speed of 33 knots, or two 1,960 horsepower engines giving a cruising speed of 25 knots and a maximum speed of 28 knots, which is a remarkable speed for a boat with fully laden displacement in the region of 105 tons. There are 5 double cabins for passengers and 3 cabins sleeping a 4-man crew. If there's a boat which fully interprets the demands of cruising at the highest level, giving an elevated speed and at the same time the excellent qualities essential for offshore navigation, for good cruising range, spaciousness and absolute comfort, that boat is the Acura 34. A planing motor yacht with V-bottom hull, 118 tons displacement and 3 engines giving a total of 4,800 horsepower, 28 knots maximum speed and 24 knots cruising speed. The Acura 34 has 3 deck levels, plus the flying bridge. Below there are 3 distinct areas. Forward are the crew's quarters, aft the engine room and service room. The area amidships is reserved for the owner and his guests. Salons, cabins, bathrooms and service areas. With the Acura 40, the Cantieri di Pisa have reached the maximum in naval construction. The formula for cruising demands speed, easy handling and agility, without compromising in any way the navigational qualities essential in a boat destined for long offshore voyages. But this must all be contained in a context of refined good taste and elegance, combined with comfort, functionality and privacy. Seen her in navigation, with her V-bottom hull that allows her to reach 29 knots, it's easy to recognize in the Acura 40 that extra something which makes the difference, that special touch which has made the Cantieri di Pisa world famous. The interior design of the Cantieri di Pisa's boats emanates the artistry applied at every stage of construction by the shipyard workers, who can compete with the most prestigious of cabinet makers and interior designers. Wood, hidden up to now by layers of paint, becomes the star again, radiating all its warmth and emphasizing the beauty of the furnishings and the softness and intimacy of its surroundings. Here we have some interior designs used in the range of boats already seen in navigation, without specifying to which craft they belong. because the interior of every boat is different, depending on the particular requirements of its owner. Next to the living and dining rooms are the kitchens, made to measure to suit life aboard, fully equipped to meet every requirement and ensure maximum comfort. Whilst on the subject of service rooms, we feel it important to draw particular attention to the bathrooms, both those adjoining the owner's bedroom and those for the guests. The choice of the furnishings and fittings combines elegance with extreme practicality. As we said, more than 500 boats of considerable size have been built by the Cantieri di Pisa, with at least an equal number of designs for the interiors, including, naturally, the owner's quarters, which obviously represent the most private and personalized area aboard. The treatment of bedrooms for the guests on board, however, is a little different. More evident here is the careful use of space in order to accommodate as many guests as possible, but with the maximum possible comfort. To complete the visit undercover, we now come to the engine room, the size of which varies according to the dimensions of each boat, but is nevertheless always large enough for all maintenance work to be carried out easily. Next to the engine room, the auxiliary room, housing the other equipment needed for the running of the ship. Even in the smaller boats of the Cantieri di Pisa, there has been no sacrifice of space for the heart of the boat, the engine room, nor for the auxiliary room containing all the equipment essential for life on board ship and for navigation. Let's go up on deck again. On both the Acura 20S and the Acura 22S, the bridge, with its intentional themed lines, is in perfect harmony with the sportive nature of these two models. And the same applies, for example, to the salon on the 22S, the style of which is unmistakable and totally different from the interior design of any other boat of the same dimensions. Whilst on the subject of differences, it should be noted that the Cantieri di Pisa's boats, constructed in wood, are the only craft in the international field to boast the Lloyd's Register of Shipping Maximum Class 100 A1 Yacht Maltese Cross. The Acura 34's navigational bridge with a helmsman's seat, set apart from the busy living areas of the boat and quite rightly reserved for crew members. In the 34, one immediately recognizes the perfect balance between the displacement values and the basic lines which emphasize the different deck levels of the boat. The Acura 34 is, in fact, the result of careful and advanced research, aimed at maintaining all the craft's natural functions, whilst incorporating a decided evolution in line and form. Coming back to the Acura 40, it's only right to offer the floor to Pier Luigi Spadolini, architect and designer of the Cantieri di Pisa's wonderful boats.
Per progettare questa barca ai Cantieri di Pisa noi abbiamo
In the construction of this craft, we have maintained the philosophy, that is the formula, used in the design of the Cantieri di Pisa's boats since 1972. In other words, the positioning of all the apertures within the darker horizontal bands of the craft, thus avoiding that splitting up of elements, which ends up by giving a boat an old-fashioned aspect.
In modo da evitare il frazionamento di elementi che finiva per dare alla barca un senso estremamente antiquato.
The horizontal lines seen in this model contain the entrances to the cabins and group together the points where a certain amount of internal movement takes place. With this formula, we have given a very dynamic appearance to the craft, that at maximum speed reaches almost 30 knots, and which, whilst a boat of large dimensions, can certainly be considered a fast craft.
E che quindi rappresenta una barca veloce, però di grandi dimensioni.
Watching her in navigation, gliding and turning as if the sea offered no resistance to her fast prow, as docile to the rudder as a small motorboat, the Acura 40 clearly expresses her origins, created by the hands of the master craftsmen, who are also, without doubt, masters of the sea.